It's Friday, the 29th of November. My name is Juan Brown. You're watching the BLANCOLIRIO channel, and it's that time of the year where we have to once again remind all general aviation pilots the hazards of pushing it in the weather in your light single-engine aircraft in the mountains at night in icing conditions with low visibility. There are just too many odds against you in flying your small general aviation aircraft in these sort of conditions. And every year, many lives are lost to pushing it in the weather. And now we're mourning the loss of Seuk Kim, a very popular dog rescue pilot out of the East Coast, under just these sort of conditions. Let's take a look at the data. This accident occurred Sunday night, the 24th of November, 1810 local time, well after sunset. The aircraft involved is a 1986 Mooney 201, an excellent aircraft powered by the Lycoming IO360 200 horsepower engine, fuel-injected engine. Looks like Seuk was ferrying 3 dogs. One was killed, 2 survived. And the weather at his destination, Seuk ended up crashing just 30 miles short of his destination, Albany, New York. And the weather at Albany at the time looks like 10 miles, light rain, broken clouds at 2,100 feet, broken clouds at 3,000 feet, overcast at 6,000 feet. Temperature just 4 degrees Celsius, 4 degrees above freezing, dew point 1 degree above freezing. If we take a look at the ADS-B data overlaid on a VFR sectional chart, we can see Seuk starting out at 8,500 feet, 7,500 feet, 5,500 feet, 4,700 feet, 4,700 feet, and then continuing to descend down in mountainous terrain with the aircraft under control, 117 knots, 119 knots, 123 knots. Let's look at these last couple of data points. Rate of descent, 3,900 feet, only 384 feet per minute down. 119 knots, 3,800 feet. 896 feet per minute down at the last data point. Note the terrain nearby, upwards of 3,900 feet. So descending at night in mountainous terrain, in freezing conditions and IMC conditions. Now, Seuk was a commercial and instrument-rated pilot, had recently purchased this Mooney 201. He's boxed himself into a situation here where if he goes to pick up an IFR clearance and climb up into the clouds, he's going to put himself right into the icing conditions, which this aircraft certainly cannot handle. So instead, he's trying to remain below the clouds and maintain visual contact with the ground, i.e. Scud running into his destination, Albany, just some 30 miles away. And all he's got to do is clear this last bit of high terrain, and he would have had it made. And if we look at the data here on FlightAware in this format, we can see the altitude in this column here, descending the last couple of data points, descending from 5,000 feet down to 3,300 feet. And the descent rate, he's descending in a very controlled fashion. He did not appear to lose control of the aircraft. This categorizes this type of aircraft as a CFIT, or controlled flight into terrain. The course is steady, the ground speed is steady, and the rate of descent is steady. Now, when I say the ground speed is steady, I'm saying it's consistent with operations in turbulent air. The ground speed is neither too slow to indicate a loss of control of the aircraft due to a stall, nor too fast to indicate a loss of control of the aircraft due to spatial disorientation. Seuk did get a hold of Albany Approach and talked to him regarding the ATIS information for the landing, and there may have been a discussion about possible icing. We don't have the details on that at this time. The NTSB will go through the painstaking study once again of recovering the engine and trying to determine if it was operational at the time of the accident. Regarding carburetor icing, well, this is a fuel-injected engine, so it doesn't have a carburetor to ice up. And looking at this data here, it looks to me like the engine was operational all the way up to the point of impact. And if we look at the ADS-B data in Google Earth in a 3D view, we can see Seuk hand-flying the aircraft ever closer and closer to the high terrain in an effort to stay out of the weather. Here's that slight climb. Just clearing these ridge tops. The data stopped here. Not sure where the crash site was. It was located on a trail at about the 3,000 foot elevation, I assume somewhere in this last bit of high terrain here, before his destination of Albany. Now, I don't know if Seuk was building time for a career in the airlines or a career in aviation, but it looks like he's done numerous dog rescue missions, and he talks about flying these trips in IMC conditions and in bumpy, windy, less than optimum weather sort of conditions. Sometimes our passions can cause us to lose sight of the fact that we're just simply stacking the odds too far against us. The recipe for this disaster was baked into the equation as soon as he took off from Hartford, New York. That would have been the time to pull out the credit card and stop the mission. At that takeoff time, Seuk knew that he would be landing after dark. So now you've got single engine, over the mountains, at night, in IMC conditions and freezing conditions. 5 odds stacked against you. Way too many odds. And now he leaves behind a beautiful family mourning his loss. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.